You're listening to the Chad Hasty Show on demand. Good for you. Now download the KFYO app and listen live weekday afternoons 5 to 7 p.m. Central.
Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, this is the Chad Hasty Show. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty. Filling in today for Chad Hasty, it's Steve Evans.
Welcome to the Chad Hasty Show. All of you folks up there in Amarillo, Wichita Falls, Abilene, San Angelo, Midland, Odessa, and Lubbock, and the millions listening around the world on your respective apps and websites. Hey, it's Wednesday.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo! Hump day!
We made it all the way to hump day. In today with you tomorrow and wrapping up the year. Steve and Amy are going to wrap up the year. Final show of the year on the Chad Hasty Show on Friday. Getting ready for those New Year's plans. Hey, what are you doing for New Year's? 806-680-2790. Probably do the same thing I always do. Hang out with the family. I haven't been to a New Year's party. It's been some years since I've gone to a New Year's party and done anything more. I'm a foodie. I like to cook. So oftentimes I'll cook and just make a bunch of food, hang out for New Year's, and make drinks at home. If it's going into a weekend, I might even get the tequila out. Sometimes the wife and I we'll pop the bubbly, and then just start shooting tequila. It makes for an interesting New Year's. She likes hers chilled, addressed, shaken, just nice cold, ice cold tequila. It's pretty good. We've got a few different labels we enjoy, but usually I don't drink a lot of tequila the rest of the year, but New Year's just seems like and it's not the way you drink tequila. It's not what you're thinking. It's not do 27 shots and see if you can still walk. Not that kind of tequila drinking. I don't do that anymore. I can't. I've gotten too old the sailor's still in me. Listen, though, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was, and don't try to drink me under the table because I can still do it when I want to. But those of you Gen Xers out there, it just hurts a lot worse the next day. It's harder to recover. Although, I will tell you, since I gave up mixing alcohol and gave up drinking sugary drinks and just drink it right out of the bottle, it doesn't hurt near as bad. And I've got this rule. I'm going to impart with you my drinking wisdom. I learned this trick a long time ago. It has served me so very well. Order an ice water with every drink. Order an ice water. They usually will bring you out a 16-ounce glass of ice water. Drink the ice water, even if it's just half the glass, but drink at least half the glass in between drinks. I drink a whole ice water in between drinks. Yeah, I got to get up and go to the bathroom a lot, but alternate water and alcohol and stay hydrated while you're out having a good time. And I promise you, you will recover very quickly the next morning. I try to chug at least 16 to 32 ounces right before I go to sleep, if I can remember. If it's been that kind of a night, I forget. But if I can remember, I'll hammer back a water bottle. If I'm out of town or something, I pop a couple ibuprofen, go to sleep. It has served me so very well. Those of you young people, we got any young folks? So this is a Gen Xer show for sure. But if we've got any younger folks out there that haven't, I promise you, it will serve you well if you're going to go out and get stupid on New Year's and get the Uber app. If you don't have it, don't be stupid. Start the night out with Uber. Uber or one of the, if you're in the Lubbock area, there's CEO Transportation, another good one. Now, be careful. Be careful with Uber. I'm encouraging you to take it. Now, start out the night. Have them pick you up from the house and get you to where you're going. Don't even think about driving. Don't even start off. Just take Uber. But be careful because they can charge cleanup charges in those cars. And if you mess up a car, it's going to be expensive. You're going to get a surcharge. And I'll tell you something else I do is I take a picture of the car when I get out of it, especially if it's a weekend night, if it's in the evenings. I'll take a quick snapshot of the car. If I can get the driver or anything identifying in the car when I get out. And I have been charged a cleaning fee when I didn't mess the car up. They hit me with a $200 cleaning fee one time. And that was in the Lyft service. And they disputed it and fought it, and I lost. So now, if it's evening time, especially if I'm getting picked up at a bar or somewhere, a club or whatever, like I go to clubs anymore. I go to bars. I'm that old. I don't go to clubs. I don't go to bars often. It's usually a hotel bar wherever I happen to be staying if I'm traveling. But I take a picture of the car. And that's kind of my defense that I didn't mess up the car there, Uber driver. But I'm serious about getting a ride. Take the rideshare programs. If you're out with somebody, they picked you up, and you're both, don't get in the car with somebody else. Just grab an Uber. You can split the fare. There's all kinds of great options, but have it on your phone. Charge your phone. Make sure it's charged up, so you've got no excuse. And worst comes to worst, there is not a bartender or manager in the state of Texas that won't call you a cab. They will. Tell them you need a ride. Leave the car there. They're not going to tow it overnight. They're not. Leave it there. Get home safe. I don't know. It seems silly that we even have to say that, but so many bad decisions, and you make bad decisions when you're under the influence. When you've had too much is when you make the stupid decisions, and it happens. But it's at one time, and it can turn out really bad and very expensive. I've got friends that have killed someone because they were not okay to drive and lost control and ejected their passenger and lost friends and had to deal with the court system. Got a friend that's on probation right now because somebody flew out of his pickup, rolled his pickup, and killed his buddy. It's just not something. It's just not worth it when you can, and it costs a little bit. But plan that in your budget. Plan some Uber charges, especially if you're going to go out and you're going to crawl somewhere. It's better you just go to one place, stay, than go home. But if you're going to go out and do the crawl, do the bar crawl, just plan all those Uber charges. You can split the fees with your friend. You can get large Ubers and split it with multiple people. The app will let you do that. But get familiar with it. Get a credit card tied to it. You don't want to get stuck out somewhere, and just be safe. It's okay to go have a good time, but be safe. I feel like I've done my public service announcement today. 806-6802-790, your plans. Amy is going to go tie one on. She's going to go see how many daiquiris she can drink with her Swiftie buddies, and then they're going to Uber home in a pink Cadillac or something. I don't know what Amy does. I don't know if she's going. Are you going out? You have your mic. Are you going out on New Year's? She's shaking her head no. It's not even worth talking about. Not going to do anything. You're a sorority girl, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty social, but I just want to kind of just chill this year and hang out at my home.
You're way too young to just want to chill and hang out. You get into that later. That I don't want. I'm there. I don't want to go anywhere, kind of thing.
I know, but yeah, I'm doing it now.
Well, listen, that's good because at least I don't have to worry about you. Nick, on the other hand, he's going to consume entirely too much cheese up in Wisconsin. And I think they drink beer up there too, beer and cheese, and he's going to consume entirely too much. He's the one we got to worry about because I'm pretty sure he'll put on his party sweater and he'll tear the town down. The whole town of, was it Ripon, Wisconsin? It's not Ripon. He's not from Ripon. He's from up there somewhere. That's all the same. It's the cheese place, the place where all cheese is made. But at least he's enjoying it with family. But I don't know. When you go home and you connect with your old buddies, that's when you go to... Nick might actually not make it back. We might not have him back next week. He'll go up there and connect with all his buddies. They'll go hit the old party place, the old stomping ground, and somebody's liable. Nick may get thrown in jail. He's that rowdy. I mean, he gets out of hand. He's got that choir boy look to him, especially when he's dressed in the fancy sweater. But I don't know. I think he could party and tear it down.
You should have seen him at our office Christmas party.
Y'all had to carry him out, I heard.
Oh yeah, it was a mess.
Somebody had to go home with him and sit on a drunk watch. We used to do that in the Navy, the drunk watch. You'd get a sign. You had to watch the guy hurl. It was so bad.
Poor Nick.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's hiding out because, he's afraid Matt Crow's going to show up on New Year's and attack him. There's always that until we get the cage match. He's probably, doing like Rocky style, working out in Wisconsin at the gym. Got the Rocky music going in the background. Getting stronger. He's going to show up and have the cage match with Matt Crow. But, yeah, I could see it sitting drunk. Navy drunk watch. Robert will pop in here in a minute, the old Navy guy. We'd come back and they would, it's never like, it wasn't someone that was sober on duty. They would pick the person that was the least drunk and say, you're sitting drunk watch on the guy that's too drunk. And drunk watch meant you had to clean up after them. You had to make sure they didn't throw up in their rack, their bed. That was awful. You had to clean up because you were out with them. So I would always kind of disappear. We'd ride back and they'd all jump out and hop on the boat, and I'd just kind of walk around the pier for a little bit and come back. Oh, I'm by myself. I didn't want to sit drunk watch on anybody. And when we had we called it the clamshell. We had the litters, the stretcher litters. They were the baskets that had the mesh on them, and you would take a guy and clamp him down and tie him down in two of them and flip it over where he was face down and just let him sleep. So if he threw up, it just hit the floor, and you could just roll a bucket under his head, and it was easy. That was the best drunk watch ever. Clamshell a guy. That was for the people that probably needed medical attention. But anyway. Have a safe New Year's as we rock along here on Hump Day. We'll take the break. Back with your text, your thoughts, and got a few stories to get to. Interesting story about the Victory or Death letter. We'll talk about that after the break.
This is Clay Travis. Every day on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we're talking about news that matters to you and affects you.
Under just normal times, if you had the president of Harvard or the president of UPenn or any of these schools and you said, calling for the genocide of Native Americans, would that be a violation of your code of conduct at the school? Every single university president, not only would they be saying, yes, of course, but they would get indignant and very, outraged at the suggestion that anybody could say that and get away with it. And notice on this issue, because they have little pro-Hamas lunatics running around their campuses, and because a lot of the elite schools have taken huge sums of money over the last 10 or 15 years, all of a sudden, Clay, they're saying it all depends on the content. No outrage, no anger at the question.
This is Buck Sexton. While you're working, spend your middays with Clay and Buck, and then drive home with Chad Hasty, weekday evenings from 5 to 7 p.m.
The Chad Hasty Show brought
383. Joe Rudd. News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO. Don't you forget about Chad at Chad Hasty Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and on your radio. Now back to the Chad Hasty Show. He's an expert on grilling steaks and grilling texters. Filling in for Chad Hasty, it's Steve Evans.
The Chad Hasty Show, 806-6802-790. A few texts to get to. And my cigar just went out. I hate it when that happens. Goes out at the worst time. Oh, let's see. 401 Robert finally popped in. Said, U.S. sailor, like partying, say it isn't so. United States Navy, we are so well trained we can do our job drunk. That's no kidding. No kidding. There's many a times I remember I was an operations specialist, so we were the radar guys. We did a lot of navigation, and we were always the first off the boat when we pulled into a Liberty port, and generally we were the last back on. We were the ones running on right before they pulled the brow off the boat and started untying. And you would run on the ship. Robert knows what I'm talking about. He was an ET. You run on the ship, jump into a uniform, and report to your sea and anchor station, which was a maneuvering station. Everybody had a sea and anchor detail. And if you were up in the Combat Information Center, where all the OSs were, it smelled like a brewery. There was still alcohol coming out of your pores, so it was almost unbearable. But you would navigate. You'd be surprised how many Navy ships are navigated out of foreign ports by drunk individuals. It happens a lot. The officer that's got the deck is probably the only one that's sober at the time. Everybody else is driving drunk. So, that's probably the only time I can say we drove drunk. We drove a Navy destroyer drunk. But it happened more often than you think. So anyway, let's see. 365 says, I found better people, which taught me how to drink properly. Oh, there's a right and a wrong way to drink for sure. You want to maximize the effect and the safety factor. It's not. You're not out there for a safety factor. You want to maximize it, and I drink better stuff and not as much of it. Once you start drinking beer, don't drink anything else. It's that simple. Not true. It's not how you do it, Eric. If you cross that line, it's not pretty. Nick is the Dexter Morgan of partygoers. Thank you, Eric. I disagree about mixing things because Irish car bombs are my favorite drink, and it mixes a lot of stuff, and they're sugary too. They can be sugary, so I drink a lot of water in between. But I get drinking properly. There's a good way, right way, and a wrong way. But generally, the mistake that you make is you start the tequila later in the evening. Start the tequila up front. Go ahead and you can gauge it. You can pace yourself. It's usually right at the end of the evening. You're sitting on about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then somebody starts ordering mass quantities of tequila shots, and you're doing round after round, and they hit you about the time you roll into Whataburger on your way home, because you got to stop at Whataburger. That's the thing. Or IHOP, or someone that's still open late. You got to roll, or Denny's, God forbid. Denny's is the worst place to roll into. Or you roll into a Waffle House if you're in a town that has one of those. But Whataburger's my thing. I like to roll into Whataburger about 2:30 in the morning and finish out the night. I don't close bars down anymore. Very rarely. It doesn't happen very often. That I've seen a bar close. Oftentimes, I don't see one past 10:30. 10:30, 11, I'm done. I'm headed home. I'm in my Uber. They're calling for a ride. Anyway, a rare opportunity to see one of the most significant pieces of Texas history will appear early in 2024 with the planned return of Colonel William Barrett Travis's famed victory or death letter to the Alamo Mission in San Antonio, the site where it was written 187 years ago. Travis wrote on February 24th, 1836, to call for aid. I have the letter. I'll read it to you in a minute. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should. In support of his fellow Alamo defenders against a significantly larger force of the Mexican General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. According to the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, Travis's descendants sold the letter to the state of Texas in 1896, and today the commission is entrusted with keeping and preserving it. The letter made its first return to the Alamo for a brief period of public display in 2013. Should go back. And now, working in conjunction with the General Land Office, the commission will help the letter make its second return for public display on February 23rd through March 24th. It should stay there. Now, before I finish, throw that caveat, if you haven't been to the Alamo in a while, there is a brand new artifact museum that's got some unbelievably amazing things in it. I'm not even going to spoil it for you, but it's a new facility. It's got an array of cannonballs and weaponry, documents, artifacts in it. I imagine this is where they'll house the letter it should live there. It's where it was written. It should go home and stay home. It doesn't need to move around. But they'll make its second return for public display February 23rd through March 24th, 24. William Barrett Travis's passionate words from the Alamo garrison transformed a frontier rebellion into a world-renowned struggle against tyranny. Travis ended his letter in 3 immortalized words: victory or death, which was the only possible outcome of this battle. I'm proud to bring this historic letter to the Alamo and have it displayed for all to see, Land Commissioner Don Buckingham said in a statement to the Texan regarding the letter's return. Buckingham, whose office is in charge of the Alamo and plays an important role in preserving history, added she hopes the opportunity to view the letter... Oh, I lost my place. Come on, mouse. To view the letter will teach others about the importance of preserving history and inspire them to never give up the fight for freedom. Those interested in having a chance to view the letter on display are encouraged to visit the Alamo website for ticket and membership information. You're going to have a ticket. But before we go to break, let me bring you the letter written February 24th, 1836, to the people of Texas and Americans around the world. Fellow citizens and compatriots, I am besieged by 1,000 or more of the Mexicans under Santa Anna. I have sustained a continual bombardment and cannonade for 24 hours and have not lost a man. The enemy has demanded a surrender at discretion, or otherwise the garrison are to be put to the sword if the fort is taken. I have answered the demand with a cannon shot, and our flag still waves proudly from the walls. I shall never surrender or retreat. Then I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and everything dear to the American character to come to our aid with all dispatch. The enemy is receiving reinforcements daily and will no doubt increase to 3,000 or 4,000 in 4 or 5 days. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and that of his country. Victory or death. William Barrett Travis, Lieutenant Colonel. P.S. The Lord is on our side. When the enemy appeared in sight, we had not 3 bushels of corn. We have since found in a deserted house 80 or 90 bushels and got into the walls 20 or 30 head of beeves. Travis. We'll take the break. You're listening to the Chad Hasty Show, 806-680-2790. Your text and more when we come back.
Just as I thought it was going all right, I found out I'm wrong when I thought it was right.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune in on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock, News Talk 940 in Amarillo, News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene, and in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veterans deserve to know about the best services available to them. VA's new radio outreach page is a prime source for that information. The page, news.va.gov/outreach/radio, houses public service announcements that educate veterans on a cross-section of topics. That's news.va.gov/outreach/radio.
Hey, it's Chad Hasty. We'll get back to the show.
I need to add that one to my record collection, too. I had that one a long time ago. Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, 806-680-2790. I'd like to send a message. Let's see. Liquor before beer, never fear. Beer before liquor, never quicker. Huh. Okay. I've never heard that one, Robert. Okay. Liquor before beer, never fear. No, you should do it all together. Just mix up an Irish car bomb. Let's see. Good evening, Steve. Great listening to you. I really enjoyed when you subbed in for Chad. A quick question. What ship did you serve on? The reason I asked was my nephew served 5 years on the flight deck of the Nimitz. I was on a guided missile destroyer into the USS Callahan, DDG 994. Was on San Diego, 32nd Street Naval Station, attached to Destroyer Squadron 33. Would not have crossed paths with anybody on a flight deck of the carrier. Completely, it's a different Navy. The small boat Navy, destroyer Navy, is a different Navy than the carrier Navy. I did hop on the Carl Vinson when we were deployed. There was an OS that wanted to swap. I don't know why. Nobody wants to go from a carrier to a destroyer. It's usually the other way around. So we swapped for, I don't remember exactly how long. It might have been a week, 2 weeks. I don't think it was, it might have been a week. Hopped on a helo and swapped. Actually, never met the guy that I swapped with. We hopped across on 2 different helos, so I never met him, but put clean sheets on my rack, and he had his ready to go. And then when I got back, I was told that he didn't do anything but stay in bed the whole time he was sick. So he wasn't prepared. And we were in some weather, and I remember I was on the flight deck of the Carl Vinson, and I was talking to the guy that was kind of showing me around the boat. It's a massive boat. It's really easy to get lost. In fact, I went and got lost on purpose just to see what all was going on. But he's like, well, which boat is yours? And I said, you see that one that keeps disappearing in the waves out there every so often? That's mine. And it was almost stable enough to shoot pool on the carrier. So that poor guy didn't know what he was getting into when he wanted to swap platforms for a few days. But I loved it. You could eat 23 out of 24 hours a day. There was, on a destroyer, you're not getting that. You're going to eat when it's time to eat. And you get about an hour and a half when watches are changing that the galley's open, and that's it. But they did serve 4 meals a day, so you had the midnight meal if you were on the midnight watch. They called it midrat. So you pretty much got everything that was left over, got thrown all in one, and you'd eat midrats. But that was the best we had. But man, they had carrier food was unbelievable. Good food. Destroyer food is probably similar to prison food. I remember. The boxes, when we'd load them on, they would say fit for human consumption would be on the side of the boxes. And I was told prisoners actually ate better than we did in the Tin Can Navy. But the submarine Navy, they eat the best. They feed them the best in the fleet. So whenever we'd go to training classes, it was out on Point Loma. There was a training base, and right up the road, 400 or 500 yards, was the entrance to the sub base. So we'd go over there and eat lunch when we were training because their food was so good. I never understood why. I mean, I get why you want to take care of submariners because they have nothing else but food. There's nothing else to entertain themselves but playing cards and food. But that's kind of the way it is on a destroyer. You can just go topside and smoke a cigar if you want to. But they eat very, very good. Destroyers, not so much. So when we got over to the carrier and they had a taco bar and they had, a hamburger bar, they had a million different lines where you could jump in and eat. It was pretty awesome. So that's what I remember for it. The food. 277 from Wes, allergic to American beer. Huh. Why? That's strange. Europe, I could drink beer. At 46, now I just drink straight clear liquor. I'm just a hair older than you, Wes, and I just prefer Scotch whiskey, but I will tell you, Irish car bombs, if you know what that is, it's a Boilermaker. It's I'll even tell you the recipe. This is the kind of quality programming you're getting here. I'm going to tell you how to make an Irish car bomb. I've got a group of friends, although we've missed the last 2. We get St. Patrick's Day was our big deal, and we would get together, smoke cigars. It was actually the old group. Chad was in it. It was a cigar group. We had a cigar lounge. It's gone now, but it was the Noah Guy Cigar Lounge. There were several members from KFYO Lubbock that were part of it, and several friends. But St. Patty's Day was our big holiday, and so we drink Irish car bombs. But it's real simple. You take a 16-ounce glass, you dump a half a Guinness in it, you dump a shot of Jameson, and then you pour a shot of Bailey's in a shot glass. And when you're ready to drink it, you drop the Bailey's in it and you hammer it back. It is the most delicious thing you'll ever have. I love them. The VFW post up in Amarillo, folks, stop in there and have a drink. They have now finally created an entry in the computer system to enter an Irish car bomb, and they make really good ones. But usually when I show up, we get 1 or 2 rounds, and they run out of Guinness. They don't keep a lot of Guinness behind the bar there because the stuff's got, I think it's got a shelf life on it. You can only keep Guinness for so long, and then Guinness won't guarantee its freshness. So that's my favorite drink. So that I can do, but that's not American beer. That's a full-blown stout, but a night of those, and you get enough sugar in the Guinness and the Baileys that if you're not careful drinking water, you can have that Crown and Coke style hangover if you drink too many of those. Yeah, we're just talking alcohol today on the Chad Hasty Show. If you're just tuning in, it's just been a drinking show. It didn't start out that way, but it was a drink responsibly show, and somehow it morphed into bartender 101. That's what we're going to now. Amy's going to give us a recipe for a Swifty daiquiri probably in the next hour. If there is, I'm sure there is such a thing. There is a Swifty daiquiri out there. But anyway, anything you want to talk about today? I got loads of news stories we'll get to, stuff that's been in the stack for several days, and we'll absolutely get to that. But hey, if you got something that's on your mind, 806-680-2790. We can always play on my attention deficit and take the show in any direction you want to go. And of course, anytime I'm in the chair, it's always open line. Any topic, it may not be that interesting. It may be something I don't know anything about, but always happy to do a little research for you. But anyway, I'm interested today in what your New Year's plans are, because I don't have any. So happy to see what yours are. I may do the same thing. Drank them in London. Irish Car Bombs 277. That's I always fancied that was like an American drink using European liquor. That's what I always thought it was. But hey, maybe a thing there. I never sought to find out. Anyway, hey, this is the Chad Hasty Show on the Texas Town Square Media Network. That'll wrap up the first hour of the program. Back with hour 2 coming up in just a minute. Me and Amy. Amy flying the ship this evening. She'll be with us the rest of the week while Nick does whatever Nick does. Anyway, hey, news and weather. We'll be right back. Stick around.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of the Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media.
This is Jerry Reynolds. Join me and Kevin.
Broadcasting from the great state of Texas, this is the Chad Hasty Show. News and views with a Lone Star perspective. You can sound off during the show by sending Chad a text at 806-680-2790. That's 806-680-2790. Or call in at 1-800-687-0790. Now, here's Chad Hasty. Filling in today for Chad Hasty, it's Texas SREC member Steve Evans.
That was Eric in the front, by the way. Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, 806-680-2790. If you'd like to shoot me a message, several I'll get to here in just a minute, 1-800-687-0790. If you'd like to be part of the show, if you text to catch up on 451. What I want to know is toilet paper over and under. Over or under. I thought we put that to bed. We're still talking about that? It's over. It's always been over. I don't get the whoever brought up the cat thing. I don't know. Amy wasn't part of that. So there was a discussion as to the toilet paper roll be over the top or underneath. I say over. Always over. It's weird if it's underneath. But someone was talking about a cat being able to unroll it. So it needed to be under. I don't remember what the reason was. It was strange to me. Don't let cats in your bathroom. Keep them away from you. Spray them with water if they get near the toilet paper. I don't know. We can go back to that if you want. 806-680-2790. I didn't keep score in the last time we talked about it to tally the votes, the over or under. We'll do some online survey at some point. Let's see. Robert weighed in, 701 in Oklahoma. Robert in Oklahoma. The car bomb is a strange drink. I don't like Guinness, don't care for Irish whiskey and Irish cream, and can give her, give it, take it, put it all together, and it's delicious. So you don't like any of those, but I'm guessing you like them all put together. Is that it, Robert? I don't know. I like all of them independently. I like Irish whiskey. I drink Irish whiskey a lot. I may or may not be drinking Irish whiskey right now. Maybe not, but love Irish whiskey. I like Irish cream. I like chilled Irish cream once in a while. I've got a friend that makes milk punch, and I don't know what's in it, but it tastes Irish. I think there's some Irish whiskey in it. I'm not sure. It's delicious. She won't tell me what's in it, but I haven't asked nicely, I don't guess. 928, always a great car bomb at Pub 50 in Lubbock. They even have their own version called the Pub Bomb with Not Your Father's. Not Your Father's. Awesome. You got to try it. Pub 50. I don't know that I've been there. Place I normally go to in Lubbock makes a pretty good car bomb. And I've had a car bomb where they splashed amaretto in them too. And it gave it a little bit of a twist, a little bit of different flavor. But there's a lot of people think that they taste like a Dr. Pepper. I mean, they've got a very, very unique taste to them. So I recommend you try one. I have made them for people that don't drink. It's rather funny because it doesn't take very many of them if you're not a drinker. But I don't know. Amy probably could handle a few of them, but I don't know. Amy may be able to drink us all under the table. I don't know. We haven't gone out and we don't have that kind of friendship. I'll have to, like the old dad, take her out for her first beer. I'm sure she's had her first beer already. We don't have that. So I don't know if she can. She might be able to drink me under the table. I don't know. I don't try to do that very often anymore. It just hurts too. I've got better things to do the next day than lay in bed and hurt. But there are occasions. This year there was a couple. I was stupid a couple times. Again, generally always with my vet buddies, and we were out at the Fort Worth Stockyards where the last shenanigans ensued. I won't give you the details, but I left a Tracy Lawrence concert at Billy Bob's Fort Worth, which I love Tracy Lawrence. It was a great concert. I left there needing to go back to the hotel, and a buddy of mine that the reason we were there, the VFW commander just grabs me and as I'm walking towards the hotel and just turns me back towards the Stockyards. And so here we go. And we close someplace down in the Stockyards, and I don't black out, but I have gaps. So never blacked out, but I do have gaps. And the walk back, I only remember half of it. I remember that there was a food truck that was close to the hotel down at the Stockyards that I forget what they serve now, but I really wanted to eat there. And every time we went by, they were closed during the day. And they were open, but there was a line a mile long, so they wouldn't let me stop. So I remember that. It was probably a good thing because I didn't need to be eating anything at 2:30 in the morning because there wasn't a Whataburger around. That's the only thing I can tolerate that kind of night. So that was one. And then there was one more. There was just two this year. And it was a night the time changed, so that's when you get an extra hour at the bar because the time changes at 1:59. And if you've got an awesome bartender, they keep it open. 435, an Alaska Parks director told me, over the top for sanitary reasons. In another life, I clean campgrounds. Good to hear your voice, Gary. And it's Gary up in Alaska. So it's over. So Alaskans like it over, right? Over the top toilet paper. But nobody can really. I don't understand for sanitary reasons why. I don't know. It can unroll. I mean, gravity's the same. It can unroll. No matter how you've got it put on the roll, it's going to unroll the same. So I don't know. But I know that in the military, we were taught over the top, and you had to fold the end into a point. When you cleaned up the heads, as the Navy people call it, the bathrooms, you had to bring the toilet paper over the top, fold it into a nice little point, and that was an inspection item. If you didn't have the nice, pretty 45-degree folds in it, and you could never get them perfect, so you were going to get yelled at anyway. You were going to get dropped anyway, but it was always over the top. So I think over the top is the general consensus. That's the way that's the way we do it in my household. An article that was sent to me just a little bit ago, for whatever reason I hadn't caught it, but migrant caravan headed towards the U.S. southern border ahead of Blinken's trip to Mexico. And I've got another article. Let's see. There it is. Let's do this one first because it makes more sense to do them in this order. So border encounters surpass 250,000 in December per report. CBP published the enforcement statistics for November a few days before Christmas. Border guards have reportedly encountered illegal immigrants more than 250,000 times in the southwestern United States this month. And as we were talking to a caller yesterday about, maybe an Eric that called in, we were talking about the Canadian border. Well, I don't have any data for the Canadian border, so I'm sure there's illegal immigrant encounters in the northern border too, but those aren't compiled in these statistics. This is just the southern border. News Nation reported that sources in CBP confirmed that the number of encounters reached 250,000, and December encounters will likely exceed the record set in September of 269,735. It's reaching the fever pitch. It already has, but it's continuing to increase. Most of the influxes occurred in Arizona, while tens of thousands of encounters have taken place in Eagle Pass area of Texas. 3 days before Christmas, the CBP published the November operational update. With enforcement statistics, the agency said the number of encounters had dropped compared to November 22 as a result of our comprehensive strategy, which has included the expansion of lawful, safe, and humane pathways, combined with strengthened consequences and record levels of removals in recent months. U.S. Border Patrol encounter totals in fiscal year 24 are lower than at this point in fiscal year 23, the agency stated in a news release. In November 23, the U.S. Border Patrol recorded 191,000 plus encounters between ports of entry along the southwest border. CBP's total encounters along the southwest border in November were 242,000 plus. Texas Border Patrol sectors, in Texas Border Patrol sectors, there were 87,000 plus encounters in November. Governor Abbott earlier this month approved a historic law to allow state police to arrest people on suspicion of crossing the border illegally. The legislation is sure to be entangled in legal fights as it's designed to confront the federal government over its handling of illegal immigration. Legislation is set to take effect in March, leaving plenty of time for a U.S. district judge to issue an injunction against its implementation. And no doubt they probably will, and they'll test it. Now, when we jump over to the caravan, and I'm going to just rattle here for a minute because we're going to be up against a break in just a second, but staggering numbers. And so you wonder if the measures that if Texas wasn't taking any measures, what would those numbers look like? If Texas wasn't doing the buoys in the water and the razor wire and the measures and the money that we as a state and as a taxpayer have dumped into the effort, what would it look like? What would those numbers be? I don't think anybody's is correlating those because, of course, the federal government and CBP are not going to give you those numbers. They're not going to tell you that Texas efforts have made an impact because they don't want us there. They want to look like we've made it worse. They'll probably try to report the numbers and say, that's coming, right? If Texas hadn't done this, there would have been less. If we'd let Border Patrol, CBP do their job, the encounters would be less. But because Texas interfered, this forced our hand, and here's some goofy statistic. I see it coming. And it's going to be used when some of the efforts that Texas have made wind up in court. CBP will no doubt be involved in that, saying Texas is messing with the federal government's efforts. It's going to be a showdown, and the problem is it's more effort is being spent fighting over who's in charge and who's got authority than actually enforcing our immigration laws, actually resisting illegal border crossings, actually processing illegal immigrants and determining whether they have asylum status or whether they need to be deported. Much less effort is being done with that, and more effort is just being wasted fighting. It's absolutely insane to me. We'll go ahead and fire off the break, 806-680-2790. Your thoughts more on the migrant caravan heading towards us after the break. Stick around.
This is Clay Travis. Every day on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, we're talking about news that matters to you and affects you.
Whether or not Trump would be a president of retribution. This is the term you'll hear a lot, right? Is he going to come into office and it's interesting. They're trying to lock him up, right? But they're worried that if he becomes president, then he'll lock all of them up. This is Buck Sexton. While you're working, spend your middays with Clay and Buck, and then drive home with Chad Hasty, weekday evenings from 5 to 7 p.m.
We live Texas. We breathe Texas. The landmarks, the swagger, and the lore make us who we are. We devour the tastes and the smells of our state. You just might say there's something in the air. So do your part to help protect it. Keep your tires at the correct pressure and avoid idling at drive-thrus. Both help reduce emissions. For tips, visit drivecleantexas.org. Drive Clean Texas. Live and breathe it. Brought to you by TxDOT.
D's Pest Control is Day mornings 8:30 to 11 on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO.
Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, 806-680-2790. Like to send a message. So back on the migrant caravan headed towards us, U.S. southern border, a caravan of thousands of migrants continued its days-long march through Mexico towards the U.S. southern border today, hours ahead of a scheduled meeting between Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Mexico President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Hopefully I said that right. About 7,500 people from 24 different countries were believed to be part of a massive group making its way north today through the Mexican state of, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Chiapas on the border of Guatemala. Luis Garcia Vilangran, an organizer of the migrant caravan and activist, told NBC News. He said a group of women, children, and sick people was farther ahead and had already reached Mapastepec. Woof. Boy, those words today are getting me. Most of the migrants are from Central America, Cuba, Venezuela, Haiti, and he said some have come as far as Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Cameroon. Those are the ones that really bother you, Turkey, Iran, and Syria. Not all the migrants are seeking to enter the U.S. Some are hoping for documents to be able to stay in Mexico and find work and humanitarian relief. That's what they say. The migrants hope to get attention of and assistance from the Mexican government. The conditions in which the companions and the migrant women and children are walking is truly deplorable, he said. A Venezuelan migrant traveling with the caravan told Telemundo the migrants need help. Sosa, who said he left Venezuela 2 months ago, he lost his left leg in a car accident and supported himself along the journey on crutches and a prosthetic leg. Tough way to march. He said the people traveling with caravans are those of us looking for a new dream, those of us who want work, those of us who want to move forward in life. The migrants spent Christmas night sleeping on scraps of cardboard or plastic stretched out under awnings, tents, or on the bare ground, according to the AP. I was used to my Christmas dinner with family, not spend it in the street as we did yesterday, a migrant from Venezuela told the news agency. The caravan's journey comes as Blinken and Lopez Obrador, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, and White House Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall meet in Mexico City today to discuss unprecedented irregular migration in the Western Hemisphere and identify ways Mexico and the United States will address border security challenges, according to the State Department statement. They need to let Texas in on that meeting. Garcia Vilagran said the meeting was focused totally on electoral questions. Migrant women and children are being used as bargaining chips, he said. Last week, U.S. Customs and Border Protection encountered a record number of undocumented migrants crossing at the border. At the same time, according to 3 Homeland Security officials, U.S. border facilities had a record number of migrants in custody. I don't know what the capacity is there, but It's got to be getting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many can house. I need to look that up. Last Thursday, House Speaker Mike Johnson sent a letter to President Joe Biden blaming him for the border crisis and urging him to act to stem the record tide of illegal immigration. Customs Border Protection told NBC News in a statement Tuesday evening that migrants attempting to enter without authorization are subject to expulsion under Title VIII authorities. We're aware of recent reports of migrant caravan that has materialized in southern Mexico. We do, as we do several times a year, the agency said. These reported caravans are generally travel very slowly and often splinter before they make progress moving northbound towards the southwest border. Nevertheless, CBP will continue to monitor developments in coordination with our foreign and interagency counterparts, as we have with previous movements of migrants. I'm looking at pictures of this. It's unbelievable. The people. I mean, this pictures that I'm looking at are probably at least a mile long, and people are walking 20, 25 plus abreast down the side of a road, headed towards the United States. Now, I know some will splinter off, but how many? There's no data. They don't know. They don't have any clue. Maya Flores posting on X on the caravans. It could be the largest ever at over 15,000 people. Migrant rights leader heading the group says he won't stop until they reach the United States. Just painting a little bit different picture. So-called migrant rights leaders should be prosecuted for manipulating and deceiving people. And, of course, you look at all of the comments on it. People say mass invasion of a country is an act of war. Government failing to protect a country is an act of treason. That treason word coming up. It's in the attempt to connect Joe Biden to treason, as he's tried to do with Donald Trump. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. They don't have a projected time when this caravan's going to reach the southern border, but let's say it's half. Let's say it reaches 15,000, and we have. I mean, this is a mob of people. This is a giant caravan of people all traveling together. I would be terrified. And listen, they talk about women and children. Just in the videos, in the pictures I'm looking at, I don't see a lot of women and children. I see a lot of men. There's women kind of scattered. I don't see a lot of children. A few here and there. Once in a while, you'll see a mom toting a baby, but it looks to be. I mean, just from what I'm seeing. Of course, I'm not seeing the whole picture, folks. I'm just what I'm looking at. But I'm seeing cross sections of this caravan. Seems to be a lot of men there. So I don't know. How do you process that? They reach the river, and what? We have a mass group of people trying to cross the river. Absolutely, I don't know. I went and visited a couple years ago. I went to the southern border, went down to Laredo, and just watched. It just seems like absolute chaos on both sides of the border. It just doesn't look like anybody knows what's actually going on. The authorities are completely overwhelmed. It really is. It's utter chaos to me. And nobody seems to have the right answer. Nobody does. I don't think it's going to change. I don't have any confidence in it. Anyway, time for news and weather. Your text and more after the break. 806-680-2790 if you'd like to weigh in. It's the Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans and Amy hanging out with you this evening. Back in a moment.
Chad Hasty's Spotlight on Texas Business every Wednesday afternoon from 5 to 7 p.m. Brought to you by Texas Mutual Insurance. Texas safe, Texas strong.
Today's markets from the Texas Department of Ag.
Well, howdy, neighbors. It's important to reflect on the true spirit of Christmas. Now, Christmas is a time for giving and connecting with family, both near and far. And this holiday season, myself and the dedicated team at the Texas Department of Agriculture are working hard to protect our Texas farmers, ranchers, and, of course, our consumers. In so many ways, Christmas begins in agriculture. Our holiday tradition wouldn't be possible without the year-round hard work of our Texas farmers and ranchers. They make this season possible. From our family at the Texas Department of Agriculture to you, we couldn't do what we need without you. It's people like you across this great state of Texas that truly make our state special. May God continue to bless you, and may this holiday season bring happiness and joy to you and to all of your loved ones. Merry Christmas, and friends, remember, Texas agriculture matters.
The Chad Hasty Show brought to you
with ABC Bank. Find them on
95.1 and 790 KFYO. You're listening to The Chad Hasty Show. He's an expert on grilling steaks and grilling the callers. Filling in for Chad Hasty, it's Steve Evans.
Hey, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. Steve Evans hanging out with you today. Cannot keep my cigar lit today. I don't know what's happening. Humidity or something. In dry box. So I wanted to stay lit. Sure is good, though. Anyway. Oh, Joe Biden. What I'm going to tell you next is not going to surprise any of you. All of you are going to go, yeah, I know. I know. Biden approval rating numbers, dismal compared to previous modern presidents. The Gallup poll finds, and I've got the Real Clear Politics Index pulled up too, just as a juxtaposition. But President Biden experiencing approval ratings lower than any other modern president at this point in their term. I don't have the dramatic effect. You're shocked, I know. Biden's job approval rating currently sits at 39%. A slight uptick from October and November when it was reported 37% according to a new poll from Gallup. His approval rating has dipped under 40% 5 times during his term. At this point in his first term, former President Donald Trump held an approval rating of approximately 45%. From the same polling agency. Former President Barack Obama held a 43% approval rating at the same point. All of the presidents reaching back to Jimmy Carter had approval ratings above 50% at this point. George W. Bush boasted the highest approval rating of the group at 58%. Biden is complaining to close aides as his low approval rating continues to frustrate him and First Lady Jill Biden, according to a new media report. There's a link there. I wonder if they've got that media report of how he's frustrated. Joe Biden, nobody likes me. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I just, my approval rating sucks. Joe Biden, we're so sorry. We're so sorry that nobody likes you, that the Democrats have lost confidence in you. So terrible. It's going to be okay. One of the handlers comes to change his diaper. Biden's poor performance. Let's see. I got that. Let me skip down here. It's amazing. Jimmy Carter beat him out. After pardoning a pair of turkeys at his annual White House tradition, he delivered some stern words for the small group assembled. His poll numbers were unacceptably low. It's just unacceptable that they're this low. I want to know what his team and his campaign team were doing about it. What are they doing about it? How are they going to fix this? And then he turned into a Roomba vacuum cleaner and bounced around trying to figure out where to exit the stage. He complained that his economic message has done little to move the ball, even as the economy was growing and unemployment was failing. I mean, he's talking to you, American people. How come you don't like me? I've done everything for you. And it's almost as though he is insinuating that we're not grateful. You're ungrateful. How dare you not have a higher approval rating? How dare you? According to people familiar with his comments who spoke on the condition of anonymity, because they're all scared to discuss a private conversation, according to the Post, whose headline noted Biden's dismal polling numbers, the Biden family's complaints date back months, with Joe and Jill Biden telling aides and friends they're frustrated by the president's low approval rating and the polls that show him trailing former President Donald Trump. Then quit. Just quit. If you don't like it, go away. That seems like a good idea, doesn't it? You crybaby. Approval ratings are so bad. My goodness, I just can't stand it. Jill's sad, too. I saw a picture of him on vacation. He was walking the dog on the beach, and I guess it's Joe Biden behind him, and somebody has drawn in a leash and, the vest. The kid vest and leash, where you can, like, chain your kid to yourself. Jill's got a leash, and she's walking him around the beach while he's walking the dog. So apropos. Real Clear Politics, when you look at the average from Rasmussen reports at their sample set's 1,500, 45% disapproval. Just quickly scanning the low is CNBC. His own people, 35%. New York Times has him and this is just his approval rating. His disapproval rating looks even more hilarious. New York Times at 39%. Quinnipiac at 38%. The ones that are actually being kind to him are Rasmussen. NPR, PBS Marx's poll has him at 42% approval rating. Overall, the Real Clear Politics average, 40% average approval rating, 55% disapproval, and the graphs are just genius. When you look at coming into the year is where he crossed the threshold and started down, and I mean his average low has been at 36%, and it's not going to change. And he needs to pay attention here. Pay attention, Mr. Biden. Nobody likes you. And it floors me that you still have key members of the Democrat Party are standing up and defending his policies. It's largely Barack Obama, because I'm pretty sure Barack Obama's pulling the puppet strings. But how can a president, when you look at this, how can the Democrats win the presidency? I do not see this president turning this around. I don't see anyone turning his approval rating around. The Democrats are absolutely going to use this against him, even if he wins. If God forbid, we can't take any more damage. He's still got plenty of time in office to do more damage. And then, as we talked about yesterday, with looming global chaos, potential war on multiple fronts, and this unbelievable weak leader, and honestly, maybe that's what they want. Everybody loves a wartime president. George W. Bush was credited with being so popular, being a wartime president. They are until they're not. With the absolute disaster in the withdrawal of Afghanistan, he's got so many things that we can credit him with that he's destroyed. How much more damage can he do? And that is the scary thing. This is what keeps me awake at night. How much more damage this president can do in his time left in office. There is no metric that he can win again that is not just going to be detrimental to this country. You can't even wrap your brain around it. And to guide us through the next year with the conflicts happening everywhere, I'm telling you, I'm just near terrified. What terrifies me even more is the Democrats' potential plan for what they do if he does win. That's the thing. There's so many theories out there. I've heard a lot, from somehow forcing his resignation and handing it off somehow to Michelle Obama, to somehow handing it off to Kamala Harris. Who knows if he's going to run parallel with Kamala Harris again? I haven't heard. I'm sure there's tons of scenarios being discussed inside the Democrat Party because they hate him so bad. They hate their own president. My goodness, a lot to digest there. Let's take the break. We'll be back to wrap up the show after the break. Stick around.
The Chad Hasty Show can be heard all over West Texas, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Tune in on News Talk 95.1 and 790 KFYO in Lubbock. News Talk 940 in Amarillo, News Talk 94.7 and 1470 KYYW in Abilene, and in Wichita Falls on News Talk 96.3 and 1290. The Chad Hasty Show. Make it a part of your drive home. Weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m.
Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. You can always find people who are helping. Thank you to all the first responders who put their lives in danger to help us when my brothers and sisters need them. We look out for the helpers because they look out for us. Thank you, first responders! Thank you, first responders!
Help us help first responders in your community today. Go to firstrcf.org to learn more.
Now is the time to buy the Buick of your
Week in Review, Sunday afternoons at 2 on News Talk KFYO and KFYO.com.
I'll put that one on my record list, too. Good John Mellencamp song right there. Pretty sure I had that album, too. Really missing my record collection. Hey, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, 806-680-2790. 466 says China has a year to take Taiwan. China, that's going to be where China's going to attack Taiwan, but they're going to attack the U.S. They're going to, because the U.S. is going to defend Taiwan. That's when you see China starting to make an offensive against Taiwan, that's when it's time to really get nervous. And I agree with you, Texter. They've got a year. I don't think it'll take that long. I hope I'm wrong. That'll be the catalyst that drives China into the conflict, and God forbid the apology president, the China president, God forbid that happen. How's he going to respond? Well, it'll be okay. Well, we're going to let back channel negotiations. We're going to, it's going to be a weak response. I'll remind you that Donald J. Trump stepped into North Korea to have a conversation with Kim Jong-un, almost reached a peace deal. That's all gone. Every gain and stride that Donald Trump made is gone. The pictures are amazing. This president does not have what it takes to navigate us through this. And that's what scares me. And yes, you can make the argument that we have other leaders. We've got Joint Chiefs. We've got military leaders. We've got a round table of think tank. But that doesn't make me feel any better, because ultimately he can make the decisions. What if he makes a crazy one? What if he's in the Situation Room? What if he's in the war room and he says, we're going to bomb or we're going to fire a nuclear weapon? He's got the launch codes. Are they going to ignore him? Are they going to commit treason? It's a scary thought. Will you even know about it if it happens? Are they going to ignore a direct order from the president, from the commander-in-chief? That's a complete breakdown in our hierarchy, a complete breakdown in the structure. That's a scary thought. It's a scary thought that we've got a president that may cause them to ignore his orders. They could. What a terrible thing. What a terrible situation for us to be in, because you know that'll get leaked out. You know it will. Those conversations classified. That hasn't stopped anybody, There'll be someone speaking under great anonymity that'll tell you all of those discussions and the complete breakdown. It's not good for us in foreign relations. It's not good for negotiations. Chaos like that doesn't present or project any type of power, and it makes the U.S. weak. It makes China do things. projecting power. If you look back, I'm a Reagan Republican, but if you look back at the way Reagan did it, there's no way there was a power projection. There was no way you would see things like that happen. It's because the president's projecting weakness, and so it would be a terrible thing for this to happen. And it seems like every day it's getting worse and worse, and we've got another year to watch this president destroy foreign relations and destroy the respect. Is that a good word? The respect that the rest of the world gives to the U.S. There's a lot of people out there want to see us burn. There's a lot of jihadists out there that want death to America. It's their mission to destroy us. China's on the verge. Russia's upset. We start getting some new Axis powers formed together and launch us into a war that the next president's going to have a tough time catching up when we're not prepared at all. We have no military ramp up right now. Not that I see. And how can we afford it with the deficit that we're in? Can we just circle the wagons and just look at national defense? There's a lot of people that want to do that. And there's a lot of libertarian-minded people out there that just want to shore up the national defense and, hey, they attack us, then we'll respond. Otherwise, we're not getting involved. Well, it didn't work that way. You've got to have forward movement to continue to have our protect the nation. We have to take those that fight to their shores and not let it happen on ours. We don't want a battle on U.S. soil. We don't want to get attacked again. We certainly don't want something like 9/11 happen. And then you add in, it's just going to make you want to scream. You add in all of the border crossings. You don't know who's coming over. The attack could happen. This is the things I lie awake at night. It's like time for a good goat scream right there. You know? That's about how I react to it. Amy's awake now. Like you're slowing down. It's close to the end. We're ramping down. We're going to leave you nice and mellow. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I hope there's an election coming. That's when we can decide. But listen, I'm telling you, Republicans, and I know I'm speaking to the choir, but it's important that everyone in the listening area, because this listening area is a red firewall of Texas. It's important that you get to the polls, whether you think you're going to win or not. It's important that you turn out and vote. It's important that you take your neighbor, and every single vote that you cast offsets a Democrat vote. It's important that the Republicans turn out better than the Democrats, and that's the key to success. I know you know this. I just feel like it was time to remind you. Enjoyed being with you today. Always do. Always fun to hang out and just completely distort Chad's audience, dement Chad's audience, so he has to put everything back together. It's like going to visit your dad when they have joint custody. Mom's got to undo everything that Disney Dad did when you were gone. It's like that. Hey, this is the Chad Hasty Show on the Texas Town Square Media Network. Amy and I'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a great evening.
The Chad Hasty Show, a presentation of the Texas Town Square Media Network. The views and opinions expressed during the Chad Hasty Show are not necessarily the views of this station staff, management, advertisers, or Town Square Media. Listen to Jerry Reynolds' Test